College football playoff quarterfinal schedule. Matchups and odds. Texas becomes new title favorite. After an exciting first round of the College Football Playoff (CFP), there's a new favorite to win it all. Texas is now the plus 300 favorite to win the national title after their impressive 38-24 win over Clemson. They enter their Peach Bowl matchup against number 4 Arizona State as 13.5-point favorites. Here's a breakdown of the odds and matchups for the College Football Playoff quarterfinals. College Football Playoff odds. Texas plus 300. Oregon plus 350. Ohio State plus 400. Penn State plus 450. Georgia plus 500. Notre Dame plus 500. Arizona State plus 500. Boise State plus 500. Quarterfinal matchups. Fiesta Bowl. Number 6 Penn State versus number 3 Boise State. Date: December 31st. Time: 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. TV: ESPN. Line: Penn State minus 10.5. Total: 52.5. Preview: Penn State's dominant defense showed its strength in their blowout win over SMU. While Boise State, led by Heisman runner-up Ashton Jeanty, looks to make a statement. Jeanty is chasing the FBS single-season rushing record and will be crucial for Boise's chances. Peach Bowl. Number 5 Texas versus number 4 Arizona State. Date: January 1st. Time: 1 p.m. Eastern Time. TV: ESPN. Line: Texas minus 13.5. Total: 52.5. Preview: Arizona State, in its first season in the Big 12, has exceeded expectations, but they'll face a tough challenge against Texas. The Longhorns' run game dominated Clemson, and they will need to stop Cam Skattebo, who had a stellar performance in the Big 12 title game. Rose Bowl. Number 8 Ohio State versus number 1 Oregon. Date: January 1st. Time: 5 p.m. Eastern Time. TV: ESPN. Line: Ohio State minus 1.5. Total: 53.5. Preview: in a rematch from earlier this season, Oregon beat Ohio State 32-31 in a thrilling game. Oregon's offense, particularly Will Howard's passing, should be tested by Ohio State's defense, which has been tough to crack all season. Sugar Bowl. Number 7 Notre Dame versus number 2 Georgia. Date: January 1st. Time: 8:45 p.m. Eastern Time. TV: ESPN. Line: Georgia minus 1.5. Total: 44.5. Preview: with Carson Beck's injury, Georgia is expected to start Gunnar Stockton at quarterback. The Bulldogs will likely rely more on the run game with Stockton at the helm. Notre Dame, known for its strong running attack, will need a big game from Jeremiah Love, who had a standout performance against Indiana. What to expect? As the playoffs continue, we're in for some exciting matchups. Texas and Oregon are positioned as the top favorites, but with strong teams like Ohio State, Georgia, and Notre Dame still in contention. This year's CFP is shaping up to be unpredictable and full of drama. Keep an eye on key matchups, especially in the Rose Bowl and Sugar Bowl, where Ohio State and Georgia will face their toughest tests yet. Let the games begin. Hey, football fans, welcome back to the channel. Are you ready to break down the biggest surprises and takeaways from the College Football Playoffs first round? Well, buckle up because we've got some serious blowouts to talk about. I mean, Texas just wrecked Clemson, and honestly, the whole weekend felt like watching a heavyweight fight where one fighter was just too powerful to lose. Before we dive into the nitty-gritty, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay up to date with all the latest playoff action and more. Share this video with your friends who love football. And let's break down why these games went exactly the way they did. 1. Texas versus Clemson. A pattern that's starting to emerge. Alright, let's talk about the biggest game of the weekend, Texas versus Clemson. Now, Clemson fans, I'm not here to rub it in, but I gotta be real. Texas just dominated this game in a way that's becoming almost too familiar in these college football playoff matchups. And when I say dominated, I mean it was like watching a high school kid face off against a toddler in a tug-of-war competition. Sure, Cade Klubnik tried to make it interesting. I'll give him credit. He's a competitor and kept fighting, even making it a one-score game early in the fourth. But let's be real here. The moment Clemson got to the Texas 5-yard line and faced a critical 3rd and goal, the writing was on the wall. Texas stuffed 3 straight rushes. And that was basically game over. 38-24 Texas advances to the quarterfinals. And I don't think anyone was really shocked. But here's the thing. This game followed a familiar pattern that we saw in the first round of the expanded college football playoff. Think about it. Penn State blew out SMU 38-10. Notre Dame cruised past Indiana 27-17. And Ohio State gave Tennessee a 42-17 beatdown. This is turning into a trend. People. And it's all about winning the line of scrimmage. 2. Why all these blowouts? The secret sauce. Offensive and defensive lines. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, wait, these teams look like juggernauts. Why's the competition so one-sided? Let me break it down. It's because of one simple thing: dominant line play. Forget the flashy QB plays, the bomb throws, and the highlight catches. It all starts in the trenches. And in this first round, the teams that dominated up front ran the show. Let's talk about Texas for a second. On offense, they just bullied Clemson's defensive line. Texas ran for 292 yards to 292 yards. Are you kidding me? Jaden Blue had those 2 insane touchdown runs of 77 and 38 yards. Meanwhile, Clemson? 76 rushing yards total. I mean, how are you supposed to win when you get pushed around like that? But it's not just about the run game, it's also about the defensive line. Texas's defensive front absolutely lived in Clemson's backfield, pressuring Cade Klubnik on almost every single snap. If you watched the game, you saw Klubnik running for his life and getting sacked left and right. Texas's defensive line showed exactly what happens when you control the game from up front. And it wasn't just Texas. Look at Notre Dame against Indiana. They outrushed the Hoosiers 193-63. Penn State did the same thing to SMU with 185 yards to 58. Even Ohio State, which crushed Tennessee, had the same recipe for success: 4 sacks, consistent pressure, and completely neutralizing Tennessee's offense. 3. The College Football Playoff Committee's dilemma: selecting the right teams. Here's where it gets interesting. The College Football Playoff Committee has a tough job. They're the ones who decide who gets in. And with a 12-team playoff coming soon, you'd think this would be easier. Right? Wrong. In the first round, the committee's picks looked questionable when you see how easily some teams were dominated. Now, I'm not trying to bash on Indiana and SMU, but come on. Clemson had more pedigree than both of them, and they got rolled by Texas. And don't get me started on those 2-3-loss SEC teams. Alabama, Ole Miss, and South Carolina. They didn't get into the playoff. But let's be honest, if you put them in against these teams, would they have done better in the trenches? Probably. I mean, Alabama's offensive and defensive lines are typically top tier. Ole Miss has been solid. And South Carolina had a tough schedule but could have matched up physically in these kinds of games. It's a tough pill to swallow for fans of those teams, especially when you see how much line play was a factor in these first-round blowouts. 4. The importance of line play in college football. Here's the deal. In modern football, especially with all the flashy spread offenses and air raid systems, we sometimes forget about the basics, and the basics are line play. At the end of the day, if you can win up front, you're going to win the game. And this first round of the playoff showed us just how important it really is. Let's put it in perspective. You can have the flashiest quarterback or the most talented skill players. But if your O-line can't block and your D-line can't get pressure, you're going to get steamrolled. Texas, Penn State, Notre Dame, and Ohio State all showed that. They controlled the trenches. They ran the ball down their opponents' throats. And they didn't give the other teams a chance to establish their rhythm. It's the foundation of any good football team. And with these teams dominating the line of scrimmage, it's no wonder the games felt non-competitive. So, for all the QB hype, maybe it's time we start paying more attention to the big boys up front. So, there you have it, folks. A first round full of blowouts. And the key takeaway is clear. Win the line of scrimmage. And you're in control. It's a lesson that everyone in the playoff needs to learn. Texas, Notre Dame, Penn State and Ohio State showed us how important the battle in the trenches really is. What do you think about these blowouts? Did the committee make the right picks? And who's your pick to go all the way this